Dennis, this news is concerning. It's probably not hugely surprising when you look at the trends of how many people are flying or aren't. But how do you respond to this? I know the pilots and all of the employees at the airlines have really been hanging in there trying to get through this. But what do you think when you hear about this potential for mass layoffs coming in October?
Well, it's very dark news, but it's not unexpected. We knew after the CARES Act by October 1st that there was going to be a crush on this. I work for American Airlines. They have not formally suggested that there's overstaffing. But airline management teams have to be very careful here because when the recovery, when it does happen, and we saw glimmers of that, if you don't have the staffing and you've trimmed enough branches off of that fruit tree, when it comes around, you're going to have a pretty barren harvest. So, but it's very serious. And just in the bigger picture, you're going to get a jobs report, I think, today. For every airline job, there are over 13 outside of the industry that are generated. So if you take Delta, United, American suggested furloughs, you're looking at close to 1 million jobs across the industry. So that shows just how deep running the airline industry is.
Dennis, what are pilots and flight attendants and frontline workers, the baggage handlers, what are they to do in this situation? Because it's not like they can leave the company and go look for work at a similar company. This entire industry has gotten hit at this point. What will people do?
Absolutely. And that's why it's incumbent upon us to do all that we can to include calling on our elected officials. The investment the CARES Act represented and sustained us through this time. And I want to point out that as low as the TSA throughputs were, from the low point to July 2nd, we saw an over 800% increase in passengers traveling. That's significant. It's still way too low, but that shows how critical it is that passengers are confident in air travel. And that includes the mandates of masks that the Department of Transportation continues to refuse to put forth. And we're starting to see people take creative ways on the aircraft of temporary relief from wearing the mask. The DOT just put out a report last week, strong report. But as I read it, I felt like you had metaphorically talked about roller coaster rides and not being able to scream. That's exactly what I felt like when I read this, because it ended with nothing but recommendations. And that's just not what we need at this time to support these jobs and our economic recovery.
What do you mean when you say people are finding creative ways not to wear their masks? They're pulling them up over their eyes, pulling them down under their chin?
Yeah, overall, our passengers have been just great on this without the federal mandate. But because it doesn't have the federal mandate behind it, it makes it very difficult for us to force compliance. We do all that we can. Airlines are giving out a red card, basically saying you're not going to be able to fly with us again. Very strong wording, but without the federal mandate, that makes the difference. And people are wearing, you see people taking a break, obviously to get a drink of water and eat, but people are starting, as I'm on the aircraft and I've been flying a lot, you see it drop down over the nose, or you might see it used as more of a chin guard. These are just natural human reactions. But just like our professional flight attendants go through, and when a seatbelt sign is on and it's a choppy ride, they go through and look for compliance. Without the federal mandate, you have this hodgepodge of airline enforcing this, and it's just infuriating. I challenge the secretary and the administrator of the FAA, come out and fly with me. See what it's like out there. Grab a middle seat, grab a seat on the side when the airplane is full, and you'll start to see behavior that you're not going to be pleased with. We strive for perfection. It's safe out there. The airflow through the aircraft, the masks, the cleaning. We've come a long way, but we need that one more push. And I challenge them to just join us. It's plain wrong, like airplane, plain wrong to not do this.